What is up, y'all? It is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm back. I just want to do a quick review. By the way, the fans blowing in the background. I'm not going to get up and shut it off. Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 5. I hate to say it because I've loved this show so far. Of course, there's some episodes that are a lot better than other episodes, but I was never like, this is garbage until today, until now, with this episode. This is garbage. This is trash. We'll get into it. But I feel like something's going on with the production of this, because what was it, a couple episodes ago they said and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go watch the show. I'm not going to sit here and recap everything, but they said that Bo-Katan, they were like, well, since you already been reborn, by going in the waters of Mandalore, now you can start from scratch. You can keep your helmet on, you haven't broke the oath, whatever. But then it was like they didn't realize, they were like, wait a second, we don't have Pedro in the suit walking around. We just have him doing the voiceovers. We can't have two people just walking around with their helmets on, because we got to have some kind of star power. Even though Katie Sackhoff, it's within this world, she's a star. The average person ain't going to know who she is. But, we're within the sci-fi world, so she is a star. But the whole point is they couldn't have two people walking around with their helmets on all the time, talking through voice synthesizers. They had to have at least one of them with their helmet off. So then, an episode and a half later, or I think it was the next episode, she's like, oh, well, you walk when I say she, I mean the blacksmith Mandalorian. She's like, well, you walk both worlds, so you can take the mask off now. Why not from jump, when they go to the planet, why wouldn't the blacksmith, if they had everything laid out how it's supposed to be and there was nothing weird going on behind the scenes and it was just Filoni and Favreau running it, I don't think you would have that. I don't think you would have that whole flip-flop. I think from jump, the blacksmith would have been like, oh, well, you come from a different world, the Mandalorian, there's, different situations, blah, 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 but you're upholding, the main values that we have. So you've been going without a mask on, you can go without a mask. Why not just say something like that, and a lot better than I just said it, but why not say something like that from that point, from the first point that she met them, and they started even discussing the whole mask thing? Instead of an episode or two later being like, oh, well, okay, now you can take it off. It seems like something's going on. It seems like there's some kind of power struggle, or some kind of where Disney or whoever, Kathleen Kennedy, is like, no, I want these writers in there. I want these writers to add diversity. I want these writers, just whatever the case may be, but it doesn't seem like everybody is on the same page with this. Also, with this episode, you cannot tell me this episode doesn't stick out like a sore thumb from every other episode the previous 2.5 seasons that we've seen. This is clearly I didn't look who directed it. It feels like a lame, dumb woman who maybe has, like, a hack director woman that has directed episodes of, like, The Big Bang Theory or something, directed this. The whole tone, the vibe. Let's get into it. The fact that they had Lizzo and Jack Black in this is a disgrace. I'm cool with the Christopher Lloyd cameo. Completely cool with that. Anybody who's into any genre stuff, sci-fi, whatever, you gotta accept Christopher Lloyd with open arms, no matter what he's doing, no matter how big or small his role is, no matter what it is. He gets a pass. It's like Mark Hamill. You can put him in anywhere. It doesn't matter what it is. You're gonna be happy to see him. But the Jack Black Lizzo thing, this is straight up out of the Marvel She-Hulk handbook. This is ridiculous. Jack Black is a hack. The last thing I liked him in, and I didn't even like him in it, I thought he was the weakest point, was Tropic Thunder. I would have loved to have somebody else in that role besides him. I thought he was just serviceable in that. Everybody else hit a home run, hit it out the park in Tropic Thunder. Lizzo, first of all, she sucks at rapping. She's disgusting to look at. She's a disgusting human being. But let's say throw all that out the window. If she could act, maybe this could have been a passable, reasonable thing to do, to have her in this episode. But she can't. She can't. And they gave her so many lines. Every time she's on screen, which she takes up the whole screen because she's gigantic, she's just blabbing. They gave her a ton of dialogue every time she's in the scene. Why? You couldn't tell that she couldn't act her way out of a paper bag? The only thing she can do with a paper bag is pull food out of it. That's it. She can't act. She's terrible. If it was just Lizzo in this and none of the rest, and they just kept her dialogue, she would have single-handedly ruined this. But you throw Jack Black in there, I'm surprised he didn't pull out his, the Saxaboom and do that hacky garbage. Or some version of it. I'm seriously shocked they didn't have some wacky, zany Jack Black scene. It's just, but even though he didn't do that, just seeing him and knowing how bad he's fallen off and how he isn't funny and how he's just a straight up hack, that just straight up ruined it for me. Also, they have these so-called comedy scenes. One of them is Lizzo was like, "Oh, can I hold the baby?" And he's like, "Oh no, he doesn't like strangers." Then she pulls out a fish and he flips into her arms. And it was one of those scenes like, "Oh well, you showed me." It was just, but they have like 3 or 4 of those scenes to where it's just, it's not, maybe for like some brain dead person, maybe somebody that watches like the Kelly Clarkson show or, The Talk, or watches CNN or watches CBS Good Morning. Because when I'm at work, sometimes those things are on the TV when I'm at work, and I have to stop in my tracks because I can't believe how brain dead those, it's like People Magazine. I just cannot believe how brain dead those things are, but that there's enough people to keep those things going for, how long has People Magazine been along? How long has, The Talk? Over 10 years. Like, it's amazing how many dumb people that just are NPCs. They're NPCs. I'm going to break something to you right now. 90% of the people that you see in the world are NPCs. I also want you to look this up. 30 to 50% of people in the world don't have an inner monologue. Look it up. So when they're reading books or whatever, they don't have an ongoing narration in their head. Before they talk, they don't think about what they're going to talk. They just go off instinct. They're just sitting there blankly all the time. They have nothing going on in their head. Look it up. It's the truth, and it's scary. But that explains a lot about why we see garbage episodes like this. And why people like Jack Black are still relevant. It's amazing. It's amazing. But also, let's get to the group of Mandalorians in the end with their helmet off. I mean, it was great to see Sasha Banks because I'm a WWE stan, pro wrestling in general stan. But it was good to see her in it. Even though she had her ears were sticking out like an elf, and I don't know if that's because she had the braids, I noticed, behind her ears that were kind of pushing her ears out, or if her ears were really like that, because she always has her hair down in wrestling. I don't know, but that was kind of weird to see that. If so, you got enough money to get your ears pinned back. Just do it. Stop with that. It's ridiculous. But that whole group, did you see how lame they looked when they were in that? It looked like they were in a park, too. You know what I'm talking about, the end of the episode when the Mandalorian, and I'm not calling him Din Djarin, that's a terrible name. When him and Baby Yoda, I'm not calling him Grogu, that name sucks. But when those 3 stepped to him and she's like, pretty much, I want my fleet back, I'm here. Did you see that it looked like that what was it, the Moped Gang in the Book of Boba Fett. Ridiculous. You couldn't find some people that looked rugged, that looked like real people. You couldn't get some Iraqi war veterans or some Afghanistan veterans that actually had like a weathered look, that had 1,000-yard stare, something. There's a lot of those people that go on to become actors because a lot of productions, get this, as crazy as it is, a lot of productions actually want people that have some kind of military experience to add some kind of authenticity. And I know you're like, well, it's space battle stuff. So what? Try to make things as real as you can within the parameters that you have. So if you got real soldiers that fought and had them play Mandalorians, I don't think anybody would be angry at that. I think that would add something to it that clearly they didn't add with this episode, because that looked like the sorriest, sissiest group of Abercrombie and Fitch wearing dorks I've ever seen. I mean, except for the Moped Gang in the Book of Boba Fett. That was a whole nother level of cringe and terrible, okay? But also, with the whole Darksaber thing, once they brought that up again, and I was like, here they go. He's just going to give it to her again. Haven't we gone over this 3 or 4 times since the Darksaber even popped up last season? You have to win it in a fight. But yet, somehow, He's tried to give it to her before. I'm talking about the saber, not it. Hopefully that happens though, cause my man's out here. He's a single dad. He needs to get his sometime, okay? But he tries to give her the dark saber. Tried maybe like 3 or 4 times up to this point, and they keep no. I need to win it in a battle. I need to win it in an honorable way. There's rules about this, but hey, throw the rules out the window. We already said she can take her helmet off. Now, after we said she has to keep it on, so why not just give the darksaber away? Go ahead. Let's just throw all these rules that we set before. Let's just throw them out the window just to make the story move forward and fit. Also, I don't like these, and I've said it before. I used to love X-Files when I was younger, but I hated when they would get off track and they would get to like, oh, there's a Bigfoot sighting down in New Orleans. You got to go down there and look at it. I wanted to find out what was going on with the cigarette smoking man. I wanted to find out what was going on with Mulder's sister. I wanted them to stick to that storyline because that was the most interesting for me. That's why I love X-Files Fight the Future, which, by the way, is still an underrated flick. But it is a great flick. Go back and watch it when you get the chance. Fight the Future is awesome. But, yeah, with this, this episode was so bad. And then when they ended it with Lizzo again, of course, we had to see Hack Black and Piggo one more time. So they give the Mandalorian and, what's her name? They give them, like, the key to the city. But they just conveniently have it with them. They just conveniently have the highest honor they can give to anybody in their planet. They just happen to have it there while they're playing racquetball or bocce ball, whatever their version is. Wow, what a coincidence. And then Piggo knights Baby Yoda, and they just so happen to have, the whole ceremonial knighting sword there also, which is, it seemed so hack. It seemed just like, again, whoever wrote this is like an on-staff writer for like CBS shows, to where they don't want people. If you're watching CBS, you don't have the capacity to even think critically or pay attention to details or anything like that. And they just crank out garbage, and they've always been a dumb old person's network. But it just feels like whoever is on staff for them to write garbage, sitcom scripts or whatever, it seems like they wrote that. With just the little details like that, just having, the key to the city, just there, just stuff like that. It was just, and then having like, yeah, and then we'll put Lizzo in it, and then we'll put Jack Black, yeah. It was just, this cannot be Filoni and Favreau. It can't. Somebody explain this to me. Somebody. Because this went completely off the rails. Completely. They've already been going off the rails with this season already. Like, stick to the main story. I don't want all these side adventures. And that's what I was saying about the X-Files. This feels like one of those side adventure episodes that I just do not care about. Like, you have the main story, which you've barely even scratched the surface of. Since the first season, we want to find out where Grogu's from. And I know they probably don't want to do a Twin Peaks thing. And because in Twin Peaks, they revealed who killed what's-her-name. So from that point on, in the next season, the ratings just fell off because the whole big mystery was gone. So they had to start inventing new stuff. People just didn't want it because that's what brought them to the show, was who killed this girl. And I don't think they're in any danger of that, because Star Wars is such a vast universe and there's so much other stuff that you can get to the planet where Grogu's from and Yoda and all that and get into that. And I guarantee there would still be so much stuff where you wouldn't even scratch the surface on it, where you could go once you got there. Just on the way, they're not even searching out where his home is. From season 1, The Mandalorian was like, I need to take you to your people. I need to take you to your people. And granted, Luke was like, do you want to go with the Mandalorian? Do you want to stay with me? He want to go with the Mandalorian? Of course. But the Mandalorian should know of all, because he's trying to keep up this tradition of being a Mandalorian. So I think that deep down means something to him, to have Grogu find more people like him and to understand his history and his past and have some kind of belonging, that the Mandalorian cherishes so much. So I do feel like that's on the plate, and as a character, I do feel like that's important to him. But they've totally abandoned that. And it's just, it feels like the show is becoming rudderless with every new episode. They've lost focus. They're focusing on characters that I don't care about. They're focusing on characters and storylines that nobody cares about. Unless you just have it on for background noise and you don't really care. That could be the case. But for me, the storyline, the potential of what it could be that I love so much, it's not there anymore. And I hate saying that, because this is the only show I've been watching right now. I tried to watch Andor a little bit, but that first episode, man, come on now. You got to add something in it to, to keep people's attention, some kind of cliffhanger or something. Because I've stopped watching it 3 times in a row. I'm going to try one more time tonight to get through this first episode. You know what I'm saying? I love the aesthetic. I love everything about Andor, except for the story and the lack of interest that's in there. But with this, man, I'm loyal to Star Wars. Love the Mandalorian. Love Baby Yoda. But this right here, yo, they just let an outsider come in and just totally just ruin the meal. I don't know what. Hopefully they saw the error in their ways and they're like, well, we're too far into this to go back and cut this episode out or to do any kind of, editing, meaningful editing. So I hope they're just like, okay, this was a speed bump. Keep in mind, this is 2.5 seasons. And you have the first big speed bump. That's pretty good. But this is more than a speed bump. This is the opposite. This is like a crater in the middle of the road. This is like when you see footage of the old earthquake in California in 88, 92 or whatever, when overpassings were collapsing and cars were just falling over the edge. That's what this feels like. Because I'm like, yo, this is my day off today. And I just wasted half hour, 45 minutes watching this. Come on now. And I got to wait a whole nother week to see if they make up for it. You bugging right now. Filoni and Favreau need to step in and be like, okay, we let you get your way. I'm talking about Disney. Because I have a feeling this is what it is. I want them to step in and be like, okay, you asked us to let you have a part of it. You see how this turned out? Okay, you go over there now and wreck every other Star Wars related project. Let us have this. Hopefully that's what it is. Because this was a stinker. This was like blood and diarrhea in the toilet bowl. This is beyond bad. 0 to 10 dog bones. Just to be truthful, 0. I can't. You had Jack Black and Lizzo in it. Also, they named Christopher Lloyd's character Commissioner Hellgate. What? 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 Alright, yeah, let's just, if we're gonna make a bad episode, let's just ruin the whole thing. Let's go, 100% completion and totally demolishing this episode. You gotta give him that. 0 dog bones. That's my rating. Hopefully next week is better. Hopefully. This your boy.